What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has what I think some aspect that has inspired it as a game from literature, or at least the graphic novel side. And I think it's from the comics because in 2016, 2017, a very interesting set of comics, were released. These were the Suicide Squad versus Justice League comics. Its title correctly is actually Justice League versus Suicide Squad. It's very interesting as to how these stories unfold. I don't want to show anything here because I don't want to ruin anything for anybody who may not like spoilers, but I'm just doing a quick scroll through. I know somebody might go crazy and go pause stuff, but I'm not trying to ruin anything for you. That's why I did a quick scroll through. Now, I put this comic right here in the perspective of everyone because there is something that I found as a theme when I was reading this. And I got myself a digital copy. I just wanted to consume the material. This was something that I got after the game was first announced. And that is the dynamic of the Suicide Squad members and how they relate with the Justice League members. In the comics, there is a theme that you find from time to time. Not saying that that theme should be always highlighted in the Suicide Squad game, but it will be nice if they actually touch on that later down the road. And what I mean by that is they have a canonical basis to be able to move to this direction. So in this comic, what you're going to notice is over time, the Justice League members and the Suicide Squad members, they first start out as, going against each other on different, levels. But something eventually changes, and that is they all don't necessarily, or most of them do not want to see the world go down the drain. And so everybody now has to have the same alignment in terms of their goals. So the very first, thing you're going to see is they all kind of start going after each other, and then something goes down that's crazy. And everyone's like, man, we need to put away our petty squabbles, and we need to turn around and we need to off this threat that's coming. And then you see the Justice League and the Suicide Squad working together. This is the dynamic I would love to see highlighted in the game, because what this does is it not only opens up an interesting, blend of everything, but gives the capability and the possibility of playing as the Justice League members down the road. Now, again, when I say this is something that, a lot of people have said in their minds, they're not big fans of the whole premise of Suicide Squad, and they're not even bigger fans of the premise of having to kill the heroes that many of them like. And I understand that. And even I myself, I'm in this camp. The marketing and the tag Kill the Justice League is very abrasive. Even the comic writers did not even dare do that. They just said Justice League versus Suicide Squad. It was Rocksteady that went and said, we're just going to put you guys in a position where you're going to kill the Justice League. And many people have said, we would hope that they would actually have something that resets the whole timeline. And the leaks came out and it seemed like some things had taken place that fans didn't like. But then the leaks came out and said, oh, no, it's not in context. There might be more that's not being unveiled here. And I'm hoping that the question mark that still lingers on the game in terms of the story and the progression and things that may come later on actually does highlight the fact that the Justice League members can find themselves in a position where they're now aligned with even the Suicide Squad to take out a bigger threat, which then opens and unlocks the door for us to now start, embracing and playing as these different characters. I think I know what might happen here. The live service element of Suicide Squad has, basically thrown a lot of people off in the conversation. But if Rocksteady is doing anything, I notice that they're paying attention. So now we're going to be playing as these Suicide Squad members. They've teased future members coming into the game, including the Joker just recently. This is not a leak or whatever. This is what the developers have teased. But what if, as you're playing the game or as you beat the game, there's a story beat that then unbinds Brainiac's control over the Justice League members. And then as time goes on, the developers are able to iterate that these particular characters are playable in the game and in the grand scheme of things. This is a possibility that many people have not necessarily thought about. And I think it's one that the developers are, in my opinion anyways, they're in a position that they must explore. Because a lot of people want to play as Batman. A lot of people want to play as Wonder Woman. A lot of people want to play as the Flash. A lot of people want to play as Green Lantern. And this kind of demand, especially in a game that has come into the publicity and into the public light as the, being on the back foot. It's live service, so already a lot of games journalists are already on their pulpits screaming why it's not an Arkham game or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's not an Arkham game, but we've had 4 Arkham games. And I understand people may still be saying, oh, they want more Arkham games, but they're already tired of the Spider-Man games. That's one thing about gamers. They're going to be crying that they want the same thing. And then by the time they get an overdose of it, or maybe just even enough of it, they start saying, oh, it's already a disappointment, or it's just, and I think Spider-Man is already suffering from saturation. Arkham basically has created a hunger because of the time in between more than anything else. That's all it did. But there's a Wonder Woman game that is coming that I think is going to satiate that. However, with the Suicide Squad game, there are opportunities for us to be able to see a broader fantasy play out. And this is why I've not necessarily taken this hard, fast look on the game that I see a lot of people taking, saying, well, this game should have been an Arkham game, or this is not the game Rocksteady wanted to make. I also used to think that, and I made videos to that effect saying, this is something that the execs probably brought their way. But I also remember Stephen Hill saying sometime around 2018 that they were working on another game and it wasn't a Superman game, and also coming on the DC Fandom event to tell us that they were excited about making this game. So either he was lying, which he did come out to say and made it seem like that they wanted to make a game like this, or he was just going with the public script. Now, you can't say he was going with the public script because you haven't asked him. However, we can interpolate and say maybe he wanted to make another game. But again, he's also on interview on record saying that they were done with the Arkham games. So you got to kind of look at it and say maybe Stefan wanted to make this game, and maybe this is not the version of the game he wanted to make, but he possibly wanted to pursue this Suicide Squad Justice League dynamic on a grand scale. And also seeing that this comic came out sometime around 2016, this comic series, it may have been something that kind of, maybe there was an earlier Suicide Squad Justice League dynamic comic. I don't know. But they've always been there in the cartoons. They've always been there in the TV shows, even much earlier, in different ways and in different manners, representations at least. So perhaps this is something that, he wanted to do, but probably not in this version, but still a game that was on his mind to do. And so maybe him leaving the studio is probably him not getting his creative license to make the game like this. But these are all hypothetical. But what we have right now, and with the game that we have right now, where we as a player base, those of us who are playing the game, we actually have what I think is a direct line of communication with the developers, because I think that's basically what they've opened up now. They have no choice. They've opened up now the direct line, because it seems like the gaming press, they cannot rely on to basically sell their game. They can only rely on the people who want to buy their game to sell their game. This is, in my opinion, a revolution right here. You guys have no idea how much this is making me, excited that now it's the developers that are actually now working hand in hand with their audience almost directly. So I think we can now start saying, hey, what would it look like to see Lobo in a game, guys? Oh, how's that license looking? It's a DC studio. I want to see Lobo in a game. I don't care if it's a live service game or if it's a single player game. Don't you want to see Lobo? How many of you are real Superman OG fans that would love to see Lobo in a video game? I know there are many of you out here, and it'll be so cool because some people don't even know who Lobo is. Some might. And I think it starts to open the door to characters that we probably have never seen. And now you can get a representation of them in a video game. It may not be the representation that everybody wants. I get it. But Injustice was also another game that represented a broad amount of characters. Probably not the way everybody wanted, but we got to see them in a video game. So this is what I think is the olive branch in most of the Suicide Squad game. And my expectations would be that we actually see things like this eventually play out and pan out. And yes, I know some of you would prefer to see them in a melee setting and all of that. But this is the game we have now. And we have a broad range of, a bigger gallery to work with. And I think the developers probably need to leverage this. And this is the key to the success of their video game. Open the floodgates of this game, man. Just let it rip, man. Like, just throw everything out there. And let the fans be able to see DC characters in some level of, just being portrayed in a video game first. Then later on, we can fight about the specifics. Wonder Woman, she's finally getting her own game. Remember, all she was doing for the most part in the new generation of games, because there's been other Wonder Woman representations in video games. I'm not going to pretend that, this is the first time we're seeing her in a game. But for the most part, in the modern, much more modern, generation 8 and 9 or whatever it is, she was in the Injustice games, and that's basically all she was doing. And then, maybe DC Universe Online or whatnot. But now we get to see the brand, the name, the character Wonder Woman. And now we're seeing the Suicide Squad for the, I think one of the very first time in this particular highlight. And so now let this be expanded. And then later on, potentially, studios can start picking and choosing from these character, galleries and making possible titles for them. So this is what I think the Suicide Squad, game needs to probably pursue on the onset. And Rocksteady, basically opening up this universe gives them the opportunity to start making smaller titles from the characters that players seem to have affinity to. I know they probably want to support a live service game for a long period of time, but you got to get out there and make a single player game, Rocksteady. You guys are the ones who basically redefined the superhero genre that everybody is basically, clamoring about and even copying on the Spider-Man end. So take this one. I'll give y'all this Suicide Squad one as a Rocksteady fan and say, sure, well, okay, you make your live service game. But hopefully your next game is a single-player game with a character that we've been asking for a long time. Wink, wink. He's got a big old letter in the alphabet, in the English alphabet on his chest that means something else from where he's from. I mean, do you want me to give you a better hint? His first name starts with a C, but it rhymes with Mark. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching. Peace out.